Hello, people of the internet. We're going to do something a little different today. We're going to talk. I got myself all gimped up. I'm hurt. So I'm trying to take it easy. Lately, on my YouTube feed, I've been bombarded, and by lately, I mean like the last couple months, been bombarded with the death of Jeep. Dun, dun, dun. Yes. And I've watched a couple videos on it. It's same basic BS that it always is. Jeeps aren't selling. Stellantis doesn't know what to do. Okay. So, I don't think Jeep is dying. I think Jeep's probably having an identity crisis. I don't think Jeep's dying. Throughout the history of Jeep, you can look back, you can see Jeep gets sold. Jeep gets bought and sold and changes hands like clockwork. It's a cycle. It just happens every so often in Jeep. And I think maybe we're on the cusp of that happening. Stellantis took advantage of people. They kind of had a lightning in the bottle situation where they could charge an extreme premium on vehicles for a while. And I think they got greedy and they overreached by doing that and kept it going longer than necessary. There have been articles where they supposedly have publicly admitted to, intentionally overcharging. And you also have a situation in the United States right now where people are financially hurting. Interest rates are high. Money seems to be tight for everybody. And so obviously you're not going to run out and buy a new vehicle, which is going to lead to surplus of vehicles sitting around, no sales, and everybody's going to talk about the downfall of humanity. I think first and foremost on Jeep, they've got to get their pricing under control. And this isn't, don't go screech against your topic of choice. It's not one thing that's causing vehicles in general, Jeeps and others, to be as expensive as they are these days. It's a buildup. It's a cohesion of a lot of different things come together and have done this. Some of them are unavoidable, and some of them are avoidable. Next, obviously cost is not part of an identity crisis. But in their identity crisis, I think Jeep has forgotten who their target is. It really seems like with Stellantis, FCA a bit, Stellantis exceptionally. Daimler, I don't know. I didn't see it a lot with Daimler, but maybe they started the ball. I don't know. But I feel like they've kind of lost their target. Jeep is not Land Rover. And it shouldn't become what people did to Land Rover. Okay? Sure, Land Rover, fairly successful as an upscale market, but for those of us that grew up with Land Rover, let's say your Disco 2, your Range Rovers, early Range Rovers, so like the Range Rover Classic, P38s and down. Stuff like that, Defenders. I'm not saying they all had to stay solid axle, but those were really good off-roaders and had some nice luxury options. Jeep kind of needs to look into that mentality. The Wrangler. They have got to get something figured out with the Wrangler. My personal opinion. Wrangler has three basic models within it, or trim packages within the model. You got the Sport. I think it's still the Sport. I don't know, but whatever the base is. Then you got the Sahara, and then you got the Rubicon. And I understand why they would have made the Rubicon the crown jewel, premium. Jake break going off, sorry. I do understand it. I truly do from a logical standpoint. Unfortunately, I think the Rubicon needs to be the mid-tier Jeep. At least the Wrangler, as far as the Wrangler is concerned. I'm not going to touch on the Gladiator. The Gladiator is kind of its own thing. And I guess you can apply this to the Gladiator. But the Rubicon really needs to be mid-tier. The Rubicon needs to be one of those Wrangler models, or trim packages, excuse me. I keep saying model, it's not. The Wrangler is the model, the Rubicon's the trim package. The Rubicon really needs to be a trim package where you can buy it stripped down with all the cool off-road stuff on it, or you can buy it loaded up with all the fancy, cushy, luxury, whiz-bangy stuff on it, okay? The Sahara, though, the Sahara truly should be the upscale model. You want your mall crawler, you want your Wrangler that's really just a soft roader, you want I bought a Wrangler so that I can go take some fire trails in the National Forest every so often, or I can go out to the beach because I've got beach access near me, something like that. Sahara. Get a Sahara. The Sahara should come all the power options. Color-matched fenders, color-matched bumpers, color-matched hardtop if you get a hardtop. Leather, heated steering wheel, heated windshield. Hell, put the Grand Cherokee Quadra-Drive, I think it's the Quadra-Drive. I always get the Quadra-Drive and the Quadra-Track systems and the modern ones mixed up. You know, gotta remember, I'm old enough, I remember Quadra-Track was the Borg-Warner transfer case. So, but the Sahara should be your upscale, all right? Put that kind of stuff in the Sahara. Put the Rubicon in the middle and have it range. Have it be a Spectrum that you can get. And then at the baseline, your Sport, whatever the bottom of the barrel is. Manual windows, manual locks, manual steering. Make AC optional again. You don't get color-matched fenders. Sorry, buddy, you got to step up to a Rubicon to get color-matched fenders. Don't get color-matched roof panels. I want to say just roof, but it's section, you know. Again, move up to the next one. Make base models. And that's something that really does play into a lot of manufacturers, but with Jeep, you got to remember, especially in the Wrangler lineup, there are two segments right now buying Wranglers. There are the people that want a Wrangler because it is the modern CJ and they plan to take it off-road. Whether they're good at it or not, you know, regardless of their level of success, they're planning on buying it, modifying it, and beating the ever-loving snot out of it. And then there's really the guys that are buying an image. And they're not planning on doing any of that. If they plan on modding it, it's going to be simple mods. You know, they're the kind of guys that will go and slap 37s on it because somebody told them they fit with a 2-inch lift and not understand why their unstrengthened front axle bent. Okay, you follow me? And there's no disrespect to anybody, but that is a scenario. That's the kind of thing that happens, you know. And you can't, the way the Wrangler is currently marketed, you're not going to please both of those camps, and you're just going to piss everybody off. I feel as though the XJ Cherokee did a good job for its lifespan to be that bridge gap, or to be that bridge, that stopgap. And we don't have that in the Jeep line anymore. And I do think the Jeep needs to get that. They need to bring something back. They need to not make another CUV. They need to make a true four-wheel drive vehicle. Granted, it's going to more than likely be unichassis. Just, they've proven themselves at this point. It's not 1990 anymore where we go, oh God, you don't have body on frame. Unichassis are plenty strong. They survive. They hold up. But it needs to be. You know what it needs to be? It needs to be a WK1. It needs to be independent front suspension, solid rear axle with a multi-link in the back of it. It needs to have a couple of engine options. I don't know necessarily V8, but it needs to have a couple of engine options. It needs to be somewhere in the ballpark of an XJ, ZJ, WJ physical mass size platform. So around the size of a JKU. It needs to just be a four-door. Don't even worry about selling it as a two-door. Just have it be a four-door. And go market it. Build a Jeep of the new Toyota Land Crusher. Okay? I'm not a fan of the hybrids and the electrics. I just don't think we've gotten the technology down yet. But Toyota saw what the hell was happening with the Land Crusher and went, wait. This thing's gotten bloated, expensive, and gnarly. We need to bring something else. Jeep needs that. Jeep needs something other than the Wrangler to satisfy that group. And then, as you go, you need, as bad as it is, I actually kind of liked the Renegade being built off of the little Panda, because it was a fairly capable soft-roader. They needed to get the price down again. I'm sorry for harping on price. They needed to come down a little bit on the price. But these days, you've got to kind of look at things in a tiered spectrum. We've got to get you in the door with an inexpensive enough, good enough, reliable enough vehicle that when that sucker's paid off in 4, 5, 6 years, maybe you want something a little bit nicer and you stay within the same line. Manufacturers used to do that. They don't anymore. They need to do that. But that's really what's happening. Is Jeep's having an identity crisis, and it needs an owner. It needs an owner that can understand and see that. And I don't think that any of the European manufacturers are going to be that owner. Europe has a very difficult time understanding the American truck market, because they really just don't. And they have trucks. If anybody's been there, they have trucks. But it is most definitely not the same as the American truck market. And you can't approach it from the same way. So they've either got to put people into positions that are from North America, specifically the United States, and understand how it works, or it needs to change hands. It needs to go to a new person that does understand it. But no, I don't think Jeep's dead. I think that the Grand Wagoneer currently is a day late, a dollar short, and hitting above its weight class. It's punching way too high. The Grand Cherokee has been a solid performer over the years. It really has. It's been a solid performer. There's been ups and downs, but it's been a solid performer over the years. Every crossover that Jeep tries to do just seems to fail. I don't know why. I really don't. Jeep needs a crossover with the way standards of certain things are, things like that, MPG, stuff like that. You need those vehicles in your lineup these days. There's no way to survive without it. But it needs one that's good. It really does. I don't know what that's going to entail. And like I say, I was a proponent of the Panda. Hell, maybe Jeep needs to get in bed with Suzuki and figure out how to get the Jimny over here. Figure out how to get crash standards on the Jimny and bring that in as the entry level Jeep. I mean, that would be awesome, but that's not likely to happen. But yeah, they need to address those kind of things. They need to stop trying to make the Wrangler appeal to the soccer mom and the adventurer. So, like I say, in my opinion, that means switching up where the Rubicon trim package falls in the model lineup, and where the Sahara falls in the model lineup, and that really is just a switch. And it also involves them coming out with a traditional four-wheel drive, slightly smaller than the Grand Cherokee package. It just needs to be. It needs to be a 2-speed transfer case. It needs to be probably a 4-cylinder and a moderate V6. Or, I do think the Hurricane's probably a little bit too much engine for that physical size. Share some parts with the Wrangler, maybe. I don't know, but it should probably be just a unichassis IFS solid multi-link rear axle, little bit smaller than the Grand Cherokee, and then push your, not saying it would be incapable of off-roading, but push your soccer moms into that and get them away from the Wrangler so you can focus on making the Wrangler the off-roader it's supposed to be. The Gladiator. Now, I support the Gladiator. I like it. I am a full-size Jeep fanboy from ever. That's what I grew up with. That's what I love the most. I support the Gladiator. I do not support naming a Wrangler-based pickup truck the Gladiator. That's a whole other argument. I support the Gladiator, and I think that it is a good stepping stone to showing that Jeep can once again have a full-size pickup truck. Obviously, it's going to be built off of a Ram. I don't have any problems with that particularly. If somebody bought Jeep and they have a successful full-size pickup truck, so Toyota, Chevrolet, Ford, build a full-size Jeep off of your successful full-size pickup platform. And that's assuming nobody gets Ram when they buy Jeep, okay? If they get Ram and Jeep at the same time, then I do think that it should be built off of the Ram platform. And I think it should be incremental. I think that you should start with a half-ton to test the waters, okay? And then if you want to expand into the heavier duty series of trucks, because remember, for a very long time, Jeep, in the early days of the Gladiator, so back in the 60s, when it replaced the Willys pickup truck, it had a dually option. You could buy that platformed out for a dually. And in its later years, in the 80s, right when the series was getting killed off, you could still get a 3/4 ton. So I'm not against it moving out of the half-ton spectrum and into the bigger trucks. But I think the Gladiator name needs to move up, and a new name needs to come in to replace the midsize truck. Call it a Comanche, call it a Scrambler, whatever you want to do, put it in. Jeep needs to fix its identity crisis. That's the first thing it's got to do. Prices, there are probably some ways to do things. Jeep needs to fix the identity crisis. Okay? If it's going to be an upscale brand, I'm sorry. I don't think anyone in America wants Jeep to be the next Land Rover. Nah. But at the same time, I don't think anybody is against having one or two luxury vehicles in the Jeep lineup. Just separate them. Stay in your lane. Jeep's not dead. Jeep's not dying. Jeep's confused, and the owners of Jeep aren't helping the confusion at all whatsoever. So I hope my rambling's not too bad. Starting to get a little too cold out here. I've tried to do this a couple of times, and I think this is the most coherent. But yeah, thank you for listening. Get out, have a nice day, do something fun. I said that all wrong. Anyway, go enjoy your day. Have a nice one.